Hello and welcome to Education Talk. Now, this is one of your best programs on education on television. And on these programs, we review all the challenges faced by all stakeholders in education and procure solutions to these challenges. I am Wilma and you are very welcome. Now, today in our studio is Dr. Chrissy Mafidon. He's a consultant on education and he's one person that believes that every child is a genius. Dr. Chris, you're very welcome to our studios.
Thanks for your kind invitation, Wilma.
Today we'll be looking at the Bett show that held recently in Excel and also the league tables. Is it a nonsense as described recently by head teachers? Now, the British Education and Technology in Training show held on January the 21st to the 24th, 2015 at the Excel Arena. It's the biggest of its kind in the world. Let's watch the highlights.
Welcome to Bett 2015, live from the London Excel Exhibition Centre. There are literally hundreds of stands, exhibitors and opportunities to get hands-on with the very latest learning technologies.
This is a place for ingredients of good learning. Everybody's building their own recipes, but this is where you come to get the ingredients. And they don't just deliver better learning, they deliver astonishing learning. And if you want people to be astonished by your kids, come here first.
This is, I understand, the largest exhibition of its kind in the world. I'm absolutely delighted that it's being held here in London.
They usually mean there's 5 to 10 regular editors.
It's freaking massive. The number of people here, the number of people who came to my talk alone, it was sort of standing room only, and the number of people who ignored me and just sort of going around learning about all the developments that are going on from all the vendors. It's an enormous show. It's really important.
There's a real element of interaction going on and kind of leaving your adult shoes to a certain extent by the edge of the stand and having a go and realising the potential it all has.
I'm enormously energised by what I've seen here. Some of the apps, so teachers communicate with their kids better, make sure they're marking the homework in real time, some of the teaching aid.
Absolutely amazing. You can see how busy it is. We're going from one conversation to another, to another, to another.
We came from the Netherlands, Amsterdam. And why it's important to be here? Because we need to learn about new technologies in ICT.
Bett show is the place you need to be because you need to think about the future for your children in your world.
We're live online and on the screens all around the venue here from London's Excel Exhibition Centre.
Having a fantastic Bett this week. It's really good to be here. Really buzzy place. Loads going on.
So many people, so many customers, and I'm really excited being here. Yeah, it's awesome.
Amazing!
It's been fantastic. It's great for students as well to see some of the technology that they may be using in the future.
The teacher is controlling it, so it's not a movie. It's basically me moving the body around.
Really brilliant for us because you get teachers, you get other businesses who are in this area, and it's really important for our networking.
It's important for us to, get our name out there, so to speak, and we're also trying to look to the international market. So Bett is a great opportunity for us to do that, and we've been very successful so far.
He's talking about personalized learning and that special bond between kids and teachers and how to make the most of it, but also how to make the most of connecting teachers and innovators, technology innovators together so that teachers' pressing needs in the classrooms are really getting solved.
If you want genuine creativity and collaboration and the fulfillment of talents and interests, you need to create conditions for that, and they're a bit different from the conditions that politicians think are necessary to kind of lever the country up in the international league tables. They're more human conditions, and that's what I'm arguing about.
What an inspiring show. Now, Dr. Chris, tell us some of the technology on display that can improve learning in the classroom.
How long have you got? Really, this is the best time for anyone to be involved in learning, because there are apps that can work. You can literally work on apps and learn a whole brand new language that you've never spoken before. And that does not have to be something on your computer. It can be just one little app on your mobile phone. So while you are traveling, you are learning. So the classroom literally has been demolished, has been opened up for anyone that wants to learn to engage in learning outside the classroom using tools that we had never ever dreamt of when you and I were students. Is completely gone into the stratospheres. And then I had the pleasure of speaking at length with Professor Harper there. So we're trying to envisage the classroom of tomorrow. The classroom of tomorrow is not going to be based on the model where we have a fountain of knowledge being passed down to students. It's just going to be there. Students already know what they need to know on the basis of what they've typed into the computer. And then the Google stand had a series of lectures looking at how you can use search engine tools to learn anything, even things that are not published in your language that you speak now. So you can see material on chemistry now, and you find it difficult to understand it because it's Russian. And what do? You translate it to English, you read it in English, and then you understand it. And the founder of Wikipedia was there, and what's happening with Wikipedia is that multiple languages are now coming up. So if I Google or search for an item, and then Wikipedia comes as the first item, for instance, so I can switch it to google.fr and have it in French, and if I hover over that, I have the English translation. So the barriers to learn is completely being obliterated. I wish I can be a student again. I wish I can be a high school student and really be able to pursue my passion, because when you and I were students, we were looking at the teacher we loved, taught us the subject we loved. So if that teacher got moved away, our interest went with the subject. But now you have ways around the teacher. You can go straight and really get the information you needed. So it was fantastic to be involved in that, and it was really an enlightening thing for any single person. I don't like the fact that they're calling it educational. I think it's the whole being. If you're a mother, you learn a few things there. If you're an engineer, you learn a few things. If you're a doctor, you learn a few things. Because learning is endless. I would think Bett should be opened up to everybody that is alive, really.
So the future of the classroom has been decentralized from the teacher. It's no longer the teacher having the body of knowledge to pass on to the students, but the students are actively involved in also dispensing knowledge.
That's right. And there's what is called the flipped classroom. The flipped classroom is now teachers come to class, deliver the contents, and they give students homework, and then mark the homework and give it back to the students. That's
so you mark the homework real time.
Real time. Now, they are not saying they can give you the class work so that you do the classwork ahead of time. And when you come to class, we discuss your opinion on that topic. So you make learning very, very active, very engaging. And people would then want to say, oh, I think it's about time I go to school now.
Which means learning is not just in the classroom, it's also outside the classroom. And your lectures can actually start from home.
Absolutely.
Before you get to school.
It's fun. And you can animate the whole of Shakespeare and watch the play as an animation without reading the text of Shakespeare. So you really absorb the culture of Shakespeare. You see everything that you were imagining before. And imagination sometimes fails quite a few people. So if you are visual, you can still study literature. That's essentially what we're saying there at the Cambridge University Press. They had things like, I couldn't believe the games that were coming out. So really, this is the only time anybody on the planet can learn anything. If you hated a subject in school, or your so-called worst subject in school, technology has turned it on its head. It can be your best now because it's presented in a very entertaining and engaging manner.
How long do you think we would have to wait for these to be implemented in the classrooms?
I think most of them are available now. I mean, Microsoft is releasing quite a few of their...
Have they been adopted by the head teachers?
That's what is going to come slowly. That's what's going to... Because traditionalists are still very involved in the delivery of education. Traditionalists are in the front line. So you find out that the industry is coming up with a lot of innovations, lightning innovations, things that will change things, but you have to convince the gatekeepers of education. That's the reason why I said every parent really ought to have been there, because then you can short-circuit the gatekeeper and expose your son or your daughter directly to these processes of learning that's never, ever entered the imagination of man.
But if that is done, the classroom will still slow the student down. And if the teacher has not been acquainted with such technologies, the teacher may not appreciate what the child is learning at home.
Sir Ken Robinson made a very valid point on that in the closing section of it. He said that revolution should start from bottom up if it's not coming from top down. Because the people that really feel the pains the most are the students that unfortunately will be classified as failing because they were not given the right tools. So failing today is a matter of what tools you have, what technologies you have, and what techniques you use. It's not a matter of your so-called innate ability. That's what every learner must find out. And remember, every human being is a learner. You are learning something. Today, the tools you're using today will be different. The mobile phone you have right now will not be the ones available in 2 years' time. You will have upgraded. So if you know you're going to learn, you better make conscious effort to learn it in the most efficient way, the most engaging way, and the most memorable way.
Tell us some of the practical tools that parents can actually use to enhance the learning techniques of their children.
I did a blog on this, by the way, so you can go to our website and download it. But one practical one is knowing that if a child is working on their tablet, the child is not playing all the time. So there are free apps, free. You don't have to pay 1 penny for it. You download that and it tells you everything about biology, up to GCSE level and A level. There are apps you can download in any subject. In chemistry, you see it. And there are experiments that are now simulated. So you don't need to go to the lab. You can't say, oh, we don't have facilities, we don't have reagents in the lab. There are fantastic tools that you can now use. So, oh, I never knew chemistry could be that interesting. So every single imaginable subject in the curriculum, and I wrote that there in my blog, if you click on that, you find that every single subject has its own sublinks. And with that link, we would never know you're learning. You just click and see things move, click, and then at the end, you do a quiz. And when you do a quiz, it gives you 9 out of 10, 5 out of 10, and it gives you a certificate or gives you a link to more reward. So you're doing it, they're calling it a quiz. Before, you call it end of chapter problems. And when your brain says problem, why do I want to solve a problem? But if you say quiz, it's like a game. I want to answer some questions and see which ones I got right and which ones I got wrong. So it's reinforcing your learning, and it's pulling you up to a level that your teachers cannot even pull you up to if they have twice the amount of time they have. So it's a time-efficient way of learning. You will reduce the length of time you are going to spend learning anything in any field of human endeavor. So it's the best time to be alive.
Education Secretary Nikki Morgan was there, and she said she was absolutely impressed with the show. Do you think she'll be able to get the head teachers to adapt quickly to these changing technologies and trends that we have?
We have no choice, because there were other countries. There were people that came from France, and the head of peace was there. There were people that came from Mexico. There were people that came from all over the world. We have no choice. If we don't adopt it, other countries will adopt it and then look as if they are better than us. And that's what you don't want in such a competitive global village. We have shrunk the entire planet to the size of a golf ball. If we don't wake up in time, a lot of our major players will just woof, and we'll look as if we are a third-rate country. We cannot do that. If any country is out-educated, that country will be out-maneuvered.
Let's look at the rows about the school league tables now. The government is facing criticism. Its school league tables are a nonsense after steps to make exams more rigorous led to more failing schools. The number of schools failing to meet government benchmarks on GCSE grades and progress has doubled to 330 schools in the wake of the changes. But Education Secretary Nikki Morgan insists the tables are still useful.
We are in a period of transition, and there are 2 particular changes that have affected these league tables. But of course, those making decisions about which school to attend can of course compare results between schools in these league tables published today, and they will draw their own conclusions. I think that league tables are one of the factors that families will use to make their decision about the school. But as I say, I'll come back to the point. We are making sure that our plan for education about having the best schools, the most highly skilled students, so that we can compete with the best in the world. And that was the purpose of all our reforms, and we continue with GCSE content. We announced more content earlier on this week in the arts subjects in particular, to make sure we have that rigorous framework that is making a difference. We are seeing more students getting those EBAC, those core academic subjects.
Now, Dr. Chris, do you agree with Nikki Morgan that the tables are still useful?
Oh, I cannot dismiss it as nonsense, because
but
it gives...
They led to more failing schools.
You know, if it exposes the weaknesses of a system, it's very diagnostic. It means that there are some things we're doing wrong, we can't pick up now and do better and correct it. If you never do any assessment, you will never know what you're doing wrong.
So should the parents rely on the league tables then in choosing a school for their children?
It's a single useful factor. remember there are a battery of other factors you must look at. You must be able to pick up the Ofsted report. If you haven't seen the inspection on the school, you shouldn't send your child there, quite honestly. So you must be able to find out what their specialization is. If you don't know their specialization, really, I won't send my son or daughter to a school that I don't know their emphasis or specialization. Because my first girl is leaning towards maths, the second one leans towards science, the third one leans towards sports or music. So you must be able to identify a nurturing environment for their talents that you've already picked up. So the league table tells me how many schools were able to get 5A to Cs in the new GCSEs. If it's a new GCSE that is exposing this also, we cannot beat ourselves really too hard with this. We must say that if 40% of our students are failing, it tells us we are failing 40% of our students. The students are not failing. We that know the importance of education, we that have been through education and have benefited from it, we ought to bring that up and say, why should 16-year-olds be failing exams that 6 years are passing? That's what everybody should be doing. And see how we can compensate and see whether we can replicate that methodology that makes a 6-year-old confident enough, just like what we're saying now, technology makes it confident enough. Give the 16-year-old that didn't do too well the technology, the techniques, and see what happens to that child. That child will be transformed. Not just improved, but transformed. So that's the row is a forced row. I don't think the head teacher should be fighting the education secretary on this issue. I think Secretary of Education made a point. It's a useful indicator. It's not all that you need to do to know to send a child to a school, but the head teachers must realize that universities accept students on grades. If you don't have your grades, the university will not take you. So if your grades are low, you are likely going to end up where you didn't want to go to in the first instance. So let's refine our students' grade. Let's see how we can deliver more value to our students, because our grandparents are just laughing at us. Our grandparents and great-grandparents will be laughing at us now because we have better opportunities than they ever dreamt of.
And 40% of our students are failing.
Yeah, we cannot say that 40% are failing and be complacent and then get involved in that's a storm in a teacup. We should dig deep into why is it that 40% at the age of 16 cannot read, write, add, and subtract. That's the fundamental question. And if every parent is really keen on pursuing that, there's a supplement we're doing to the league table, how to know the best school in your area, and the difference between the GCSE league table, which is totally different from the A-level league table. So you cannot allow your son to continue their school if the GCSE was good, because some schools are very good at GCSE, laying the great foundation. Others are better at building on that foundation. So that's the fascinating thing. So if you haven't got the newspapers, if you can't get a newspaper, we have a PDF list of all the schools and the grades and what they got in every single borough of the country. We have a league table, so you can email us or contact us. We'll have that as an ebook for you.
Let's look at the recently released league tables. 40% of our students are failing. Why are they failing? Is it a lack of technology? What is the problem?
The students are completely disengaged from the entire learning process. They associate schools with boredom because the mechanism for delivering the content has not changed since 1440. If we change from the Victorian times and upgrade how we think we teach and listen to how the students learn, every single child in a class of 30 have learned something. How did they learn that thing? They are good in something. You can't tell me a child is not good at something. They may not be good in what you like, but they are very good at something. So if they persist on a task over and over again, you know that they've honed their talents. Find out how they became good at that and replicate that methodology in areas that they're not good at, and then you bait them.
So for almost 8 centuries, we've had the same learning, the same type of education that has been passed on from generation to generation, even though we have more opportunities. I asked the same question. How can Nikki Morgan ensure that this system is changed?
She has, as the Secretary of State, has a final say in deciding which school literally goes into special measures, which is the equivalent of going into receivership, if that was a company. She can insist that a school goes into special measures and the school, the head and the leadership will be changed. So if she doesn't see fruits, if you're not delivering the number of A stars to C, it's best you even step aside before anybody tells you, because lives are at stake here. The children will have a stamp on their life saying, I'm good at this, I'm not good at this, at the age of 16. Most of our major life career decisions are made, unfortunately, at the age of 16. So if I'm not good at a subject and I get a top grade in it, guess what? I begin to believe I'm good at it. Now, if I'm very good at a subject, I get a low grade in it. You know what happened? Students drop the subject they were good at because of a grade, which is very sad. And we've always said, in 21 days, you can turn around your U to an A star, documented, established in every subject. So what the Secretary of State should be saying that if your school does not deliver the level of A to C's, straight into receivership or straight into special measures, and find out why is it that the students are not engaged. If they're engaged, they'll learn. If they learn, they'll pass.
For parents who feel the educational system has failed them, what should they do?
They should know that they have a lifetime relationship of teaching and training to their son or daughter. You potty trained your son or your daughter. You told your son how, when they took their first step walking, oh, get up, boy, you're doing very well. Or get up, girl, you're doing it very well. You encourage them. You're their #1 fan. You're their #1 teacher. Don't let anybody fool you into doing that. So intervene if you find that the school is not delivering. Intervene. Get a meeting with the teacher and have a discussion with them. Meet people like the Excellence in Education program and attend their webinars, attend their seminars. Get yourself informed, because the educational policies are changing faster than we can say our names. Every new government comes up with a new policy. Every new Secretary of State comes up with a new policy or a slightly different slant. So if you're going to keep in touch, you've got to be able to affiliate yourself with Excellence in Education and they'll be able to work with you. And most of the seminars are free.
We'll talk about the Excellence in Education seminar because it's halftime, and what should the parents do during this halftime? You talked about a student can change their grades from a U to an A star.
Absolutely.
In 21 days. You tell us how. Those are proven techniques and methods that we already know. But first of all, what major government reforms on world education has been implemented?
You know, this is where I literally give credit, and I give my hand up for Nikki Morgan when she made the announcement saying that we want to have world-class teaching in this country. And she's invited all the heads. If you're a head, if you've not received it, all you need to do, register at the Eventbrite, you get a free ticket. There's one in London, there's going to be another one in Midlands this Saturday, and then Saturday the 7th of February, because she wants consultation and say, what must we do now? Not just to improve grades, but to completely overhaul the educational system. We inherited it from our forefathers, and when we did, we were producing industrial workers. Today, we're not interested in industrial workers, we're interested in innovators, captains of industry that will pull things up. Then, we didn't think Mars was a place anybody could go to. We didn't even think about going to the moon. But now we've conquered the moon. So the next thing we must think of seriously is say, what type of education are we giving our students? Are they still fit for purpose, or do we need to change a few things? And if we need to change, where do we need to change? I'm making a presentation today, and I'm saying we need to start from the training of the teachers. The universities need to tell teachers what teaching profession they are entering, which is radically different from where their great parents, where their grandparents or great-grandparents went into. You are not going there as a body of knowledge, you are going there as a facilitator, and you're going to guide the discussion in the classroom. You're not going to know it all. There's no way you can know it all. Tell me what you can teach a 17-year-old that has already written an app that Yahoo bought for £30 million. You can't teach him anything.
He'll be bored in the
he'll be
classroom.
bored stiff in classroom. So that's essentially what I'm hoping, that there'll be a real frank and honest discussion, dialogue between our education policymakers, the current stakeholders, the profession, and the unions. Sit on a round table and say, in the interest of the child, what can we do to make it world class? Not local champions, not national champions, not European champions, world class. You've got to defeat the world.
So for parents out there, in the interest of your child, what do you think the government can do to make the education in this country world class? You can send emails to educationtalk@globotv.co.uk. Let's go to universities admissions. Now, figures released this week show that university applications have reached record levels, and the UCAS admission service revealed that more than 592,000 people have applied so far, up 2% compared with the same point last year, even with the introduction of tuition fees. What does this mean for the UK?
It means that we have a workforce that is going to be very trained and ready for the next century. If we are really able to carry through year-on-year increase in university application, it means that the development of our talents is going to have to be prioritized by the government. It means that in science and technology, we're going to lead. In arts, we're going to lead in developing not just sporting talent now, musical talent, across the board talent. It's going to take place with this new generation, because shying away from the rigors and training of university completely disables you in terms of learning at that level. Because one thing you carry away from a university degree is the ability to be able to self-learn. Because most of the work you're going to do will be your coursework. You have to submit that. You're going to learn time management. You're going to learn teamwork. So these are things that are not necessarily part of the knowledge you're getting, but useful skills you're going to use, you're going to have in the workplace. So it's congratulations to the young men and women. It means the message is getting through that the educated mind is a great mind. The uneducated mind is a loss and a waste. So anyone that has made the application, make sure you pursue it. Whatever the outcome, still go for it, because you cannot deny yourself the benefit of operating at the world-class level if you have all the tools and all the opportunities that I've given to you.
And most of our kids in this country have all the tools and opportunities given to them. Let's look at your Excellence in Education half-term revision classes. You said proving techniques that a child can implement to turn a U to an A star. Tell us some of these proving techniques.
Every time you go out to shop, when you come back, you look at what you bought and you compare it with your receipts. Every trader does some stock trading at some point in time. So what you need to do is a stock take. This is the first half of the term. What were you supposed to know? What do you know today? What were you supposed to apply the knowledge, not just acquiring the knowledge, applying the knowledge? What can you apply today? If you are on target, fine. You just reinforce what you need to do and then get yourself involved in a lot of leisurely activity. If you are behind, this is time for you to catch up, because if you leave this deficit to the end of the term, the child will be even further behind. So half term is an opportunity for you to reflect, review, see what has been achieved, see what could have been achieved, and catch up in areas of perceived deficiency. And you must assess the child. You must be able to see, this is what we started the term with, this is what we're doing now. So short, regular assessment of how far the journey is will make sure that the child, when it comes to the end of the academic year, the child is literally coasting.
Are you saying that if these techniques are adopted in our schools, it's possible to have a 0% failure in our classrooms?
Man was designed for a 0% failure. Any engine that is made by Boeing is able to pilot a plane. Any engine made by Ford moves the car. Man was made with an intellectual engine. If we engage that engine, nobody can fail, because there is something good in every single child. There is a talent in every child. That's why we say every single human being is a genius. If we explore that genius, we'll be able to achieve a lot. I had the privilege of being at the Red masterclass in the week, and we're looking at, because traditionally they say females are weaker at technology. Females cannot do technology. What the Red masterclass demonstrated very glowingly was that there are no gender preferences. You can, as a lady, program. You can, as a girl, program. So we shouldn't put such stereotypes ahead of the reality. Today's reality means that we can get our children to surpass whatever achievement we've had. If we can't do that, then we are robots, because robots do not achieve, they just replicate. If we are humans, we'll improve, because we look at what our parents did, what our grandparents did, and then we improve on that. But if we don't improve on it, if we just only equal what our parents did, then we are a disgrace to them. We are not living up to the expectation that they placed on us, because they have life so difficult and we're having it so easy. We should extend the lead.
Which means having 40% of our kids fail means we didn't do what we should have done earlier.
Yeah, I'm ashamed. I'm personally ashamed that if 40%, just assume they are my children, if 40% of my children are not doing well, there's something radically wrong with me, because I have been given the wonderful privilege, my grandparents and parents, to say, oh, you must do this, you should be able to do this. Why can't I just replicate that? 40% is just too big. That's a massive waste of human capital.
Tell us how parents can have access to these techniques, these proven techniques that a child can switch their grades to the best in 21 days.
One, if they attend any of our seminars, that'd be useful, because we'll be able to give you the technology that is required, the learning style, because you must detect the learning style of the child.
On the Excellence in Education website.
Yes, you must know the learning style of the child. That's part of what techniques are going to change. You must use the current technology, because printing press was a technology that changed the way we taught. So, and then the last but not the least, because you're using technology, you're using techniques, then you must understand that talent will be pulled out very quickly.
I wish we would continue, but we would have to stop. We're running out of time. But definitely next week, we will talk about these learning techniques. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Chris.
It's a pleasure, Miriam.
Viewers, remember, this is Education Talk, where we procure solutions to challenges faced by all stakeholders in education. For more information, you can send emails to educationtalk@lovewelltv.co.uk. Enjoy the rest of our programs.